Why hello and welcome to another episode of Cooking with Corona. Well, not with Corona exactly, but cooking whilst the pandemic is surrounding that particular issue. Now, I thought, given the success of my last one regarding the cake, which was absolutely delicious, we'd try something more savoury while you're here. It's kind of, I was going to say it's my second dish, but it actually isn't. There were a couple of failed ones that I didn't feel like putting up here. I might put a few sort of outtakes and so on in future ones. But I'm sickeningly bored, so I thought, why not give it a shot? Since I tried something sweet last time, why not something savoury on this? Unfortunately, this dish isn't really for vegetarians unless you leave out the meat, and the first bit of meat we're going to use is steak, which isn't very vegetarian at all. But of course, you could use the salad. I'm having it with salad, you can have it with that, and bread. So, I'm just standing here in these filthy pyjamas, and I thought, since I'm bored and I'm hungry, you might as well come here. Now come with me and see what I've done down here. I've just rested this meat on some greaseproof paper and let it stay at room temperature to sort of catch the warmth. And you know, where I live, it's kind of cold at the moment despite the weather, so that might take a little while. So once again, as I'm terribly bored and very hungry, I'll stand here in my terribly filthy pyjamas and my horribly unshaven face and come on this little adventure with me, just to see if I can do it. A little trick with onions is to cut off the very stalk and bring out the bits if you cry too much, and because this is the part that really makes you cry if you're prone to crying. So cut that bit off, and then you should be able to peel the rest of it and cut the rest of it without too much bother. There's the red onion done, and just working on the white now. And by the way, I've used a little less than half, you may notice, but that's alright because the white generally has more flavour. On reflection, that may be a little too much onion, but never mind, we'll improvise. I've got the nice ciabatta rolls. This is an 8-pound rump steak, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned it. So yes, we've got the steak here. Tenderize by pressing down a pan or something like that. We're going to be cooking in this soon, in case you didn't guess. Onions done. Steak tenderized. Next, butter and oil. Decent amount of butter. Decent amount of oil. It's supposed to be olive oil, but this is sunflower oil. I'm sure it'll still work just as well. I nearly put this ginger wine in there. Could try it, but perhaps not on this occasion. Decent amount of brown sugar. This is probably not the right kind of brown sugar, but still, it's sugar. Right, now we take our onions and put all that into the oil, butter, sugary mixture. Or we put some of it in there, the rest we get all over the floor and all over the stove. But never mind. Needs must as the devil drives. So to cook that for about 5 minutes, or until they're all decently browned. Now, I have long had this bottle of red wine vinegar, which I've not used for anything yet. The first time I've got a recipe that actually uses it. So at long last, let's see what it's like. So slosh that in. Wonderful technical measurement there, isn't it? A slosh. The slosh is in. The onions are in, the oil is in, the butter is in. We're going to leave that now for at least 15 minutes. Don't move. Alright, so it's more like 20 minutes later, so longer than the 15 minutes suggested by Mr. Clean, but still not as long as the 35 minutes that Mr. Oliver suggests. And I've suddenly decided I'd like to have mushrooms in this as well, so let's just bung those in there as well. Right, well, the mushrooms are done. Not sure how long they've been in there for. I only know that they look okay. So, how nice does that look? You can see how snugly and steamy that got. You want that. You want them to really sort of sweat. I'd very much like to have put that this steak in amongst the onions, but they're a bit too overdone and they'll just go black, I think, if I do that. So, next thing to do is to season it. I've got some salt here, so I'm sure you know what rubbing salt in looks like, but have a look anyway. So yes, I'm rubbing salt in there. Turn it over. Do the same. Now it's supposed to be pepper next, but don't seem to be able to find any pepper of my own, but I do have this little mixture of turmeric and peppercorn. Now, Miss McLean's recipe called for sort of chili jam and so on, and mustard. So I'm going to see, this is turmeric with peppercorn, and this comes with a sort of, well, you can hear what I'm doing, but you can see it too. So I'm just putting that, I'm going to just see if that gives any extra flavour. And I put that, so now it's seasoned with both salt and pepper and turmeric, just as an extra change. As I said, I would very much like to have put that in with the onion, but I think that it's a bit overdone. Now, stand by, or sit by, whatever you're doing at the moment. More oil in the pan. Does that not look wonderful? Sizzling away. And there's very little oil in there, you see, because I transferred most of it with the onions there. So just remnants here. I'm keeping these on very low heat. This is the onion mushroom mixture. Putting that all in there with the lid on. I'm going to keep turning over and checking to see whether it's going brown. Keep it there for a minute or two. Then I'll turn it over and do the same thing again. So like I said, not particularly good for vegetarians, but at least you know how to, if you are a vegetarian, you've at least learned how to fry onions and mushrooms now and peel them and cook them. I'm sure you did anyway, but it's still nice. Oh, one thing I forgot. I ought to put those rolls. Mr. Oliver's version says ciabatta sort of baguette, sort of loaf, but I've only got some rolls. You can use ordinary bread rolls, by the way. I think what I'll do is cut the steak in half and put, and also divide the onion mushroom mixture and put them all together. And I'll add some greens, but I'll warm up the bread rolls while we're waiting. This is probably more like 3 or 4 minutes at this point, but still. We'll turn that over. Ah, what a lovely brown that is. So we'll keep that in for around the same length of time. Yes, I mean, there's a nice Italian cafeteria near where I live, and quite often I will choose a steak sandwich if I'm feeling rich. Although they serve theirs with raw red onion, which is lovely. Speaking of raw things, the greens, by the way, normally I'd have tomato, but I don't have a tomato today, so I'll add cucumber and watercress and things like that. And I managed to get the steaks on offer, which is one of the reasons why we're doing this. It's not necessarily something I'd usually buy. But you know what? I think we might be getting somewhere. Just wait for that to go a little browner. You know, I never imagined that my channel would go in this direction. I suppose it's a good illustration of where we are, not just as a country, but as a world now, as a planet, as a species, that we're busily occupying our time in ways we probably never would before. I remember when there was a previous pandemic of foot and mouth as well, and government grab on people's livestock and ordering that they don't just kill them, cut out the tongues and the hooves and sell all the rest of the meat. No, they had to incinerate the lot, even the ones that didn't appear to be sickening in some cases. Oh. Well, we'll get through this, but at least we'll have some fun cooking in the meantime. Who knows? Maybe after all this is over, I'll do it without lockdown, but... I mean, I did one curry dish, didn't I, pre all this now, but hardly anyone watches me, so you won't remember that. Got some garlic mills here, garlic flakes. Should I put those in? Maybe one scrape. There, just the one. Oh, look at that. Look at those lovely juices. Again, to any vegetarian it'll look revolting, but I'm a true, well, not carnivore, but a true omnivore, a true descendant of hunters that pursued bison and deer with antlers of a 10 feet span. Low flame, I think, for both onions and the beef. Turn it over once again. I like mine well done. Right, well, while that's cooking, I'm just going to cut some cucumber. I'm sure you know what a cut cucumber looks like, but here, just in case you had an overwhelming desire to watch it being done, here's how you do it. Unless, of course, you like it that way, in which case you go that way. I'm going to leave that raw, but warm the watercress there a little bit. And by the way, this is the sort of way you'd cook a steak for any meal. If you were having chips, I don't like chips much, but or potato, you know, what the Americans call French fries, but pommes but I actually do like sweet potato chips though, and you can buy those frozen in a bag and just follow the instructions, but I do have some sweet potatoes back there and I might use those in a future recipe. If I'm still in lockdown and if I'm still bored. Getting there, getting there, getting there. Aha! Do you hear that? Onions going off. That's just the rolls that I was heating up. I like mine well done, like I said. So, observe. Now we're going to cut that and see how well we do. Probably not, this is not the knife for it, but aha. Well, right or wrong, it does the job. Now, let's get those rolls. Oh. Now, I'm no good at... I can't really tell you how to make bread by yourself. In fact, I definitely can't, because I have no rolling pin for one thing, which is why I wasn't using a rolling pin. So, I'm going to open these things and put the steak, onions, maybe onions first actually. We will see how it all pans out. Teleport! That was lovely. It's a beautiful recipe. Perfectly cooked. If I die, I'll just blame the cow. And if you wish to try it for yourself, by all means do. If you don't wish to do so, by all means don't. Anyway, that is steak sandwich. And with that, ta-ta! This recipe is a kind of hybridized version of Jamie Oliver and Fiona McLean, and I've no idea who Fiona McLean is. I just thought that her version sounded nice, so we're combining that with so we're combining the two together. And the first thing that we're going to need, which would be okay for vegetarians, is unfortunately, this one isn't really for vegetarians, unless you're the kind of vegetarian that likes to break the rules a little bit, or unless you're one of those recovering vegetarians, if you like, recovering carnivores, rather, that like to have vegetarian meat, or sort of weird stuff like that. And this part you can do if you're a vegetarian, that's to peel an onion. I'm using recipe, a sort of hybridised version of Fiona McLean and Jamie Oliver, just to see what will happen. It says 2 onions. I wasn't sure whether to use white onion or red onion. Tell you what, I'll use both, or I'll use 1.5. Half asleep, you know. Barely slept at all. Somehow I imagine I shan't burn myself. No need to worry if it all goes wrong. It's my meal, I'm eating it, not you. Wonderful technical measurement there, isn't it? A slosh. That was a bit too much of a slosh. Oh, I've been filming all this time. Oh, well, never mind. No idea whether you saw that, but that's how my camera works, or doesn't work. It's how my camera work doesn't work. Get that out in the end. Alright, let's try it. Not the best, not the worst.